Welcome to the show, folks. Today we're diving deep into some seriously messed up stuff. Mind control and manipulation techniques. Buckle up because this is gonna be a wild ride. We're talking about the kind of stuff that can really mess with your head, man. These are tactics designed to alter your thoughts, your beliefs, even your behaviors, and you might not even see it coming. It's like the Matrix, but in real life. We're gonna break it all down, show you how these techniques work and how to spot them before they get their hooks in you. This is some real shadow work, folks. We're talking about the dark side of human psychology, the stuff they don't teach you in school. But it's out there, man. It's real and it's happening every day. All right, let's get right into it. First up, we've got psychological manipulation. This is where things get really sneaky. We're talking about tactics like gaslighting, NLP, and good old-fashioned guilt tripping. Gaslighting, man, that's some straight-up evil genius stuff. It's all about making someone doubt their own sanity, their own memories. You ever been in an argument and the other person's like, that never happened, and you start to question your own reality? That's gaslighting, and it can really mess with your head. Then you've got NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming. This is a whole rabbit hole, man. It's like a toolkit for your brain. And in the wrong hands, it can be used to implant thoughts and beliefs, even change your behaviors. It's wild stuff. And who could forget guilt tripping? We've all been on the receiving end of that one. It's classic manipulation 101, playing on your emotions to get you to do what they want. These tactics all exploit our psychological vulnerabilities, man. They prey on our insecurities, our fears, our desire to please. Think about it, man. Why do you think cults are so effective? They use these same tactics, these psychological weapons, to break people down and rebuild them in their image. It's scary stuff, but knowledge is power, right? Next up, we're talking about cognitive bias exploitation. This is where things get really trippy, man. Our brains are hardwired with these shortcuts, these biases that help us navigate the world. But guess what? Manipulators know all about them, and they're more than happy to exploit them for their own gain. Take anchoring, for example. This is where they set a baseline, a reference point that influences your perception of everything that follows. Like, say, you're negotiating a price on a used car. The seller throws out a ridiculously high number first, right? That's the anchor. Even if you negotiate down, you're still likely to pay more than the car is worth because your perception of value has been skewed. Then you've got reciprocity. This is the whole you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours principle. Manipulators use this all the time. They do you a small favor, maybe buy you a coffee or something, and then boom, they hit you up for a bigger favor later on. You feel obligated to reciprocate even if you don't really want to. It's crazy how easily we can be manipulated, right? Now let's dive into the world of social influence techniques. This is where things get really Machiavellian, man. We're talking about tactics that have been used for centuries to control the masses, to get people to do things they never thought they would. One of the most insidious techniques is the foot in the door. It's all about getting you to agree to a small request first, something seemingly harmless. Then, once you've committed, they hit you with the bigger ask. It's like you're at a store and the salesperson offers you a free sample. You take it because, hey, free food, right? But then they reel you in with a sales pitch. You're already feeling obligated because you took the free sample, so you're more likely to buy something. Then there's love bombing. This is a favorite tactic of cults and abusers. They shower you with attention, affection, gifts, all this positive reinforcement to make you feel good, to make you dependent on them. It's like a drug, man, and it can be incredibly addictive. And of course, we can't forget about fear-based control. This one's a classic. Politicians use it all the time. They create a sense of fear, a sense of urgency to get you to go along with their agenda. Think about it, man. How many times have you heard a politician say something like, if we don't act now, our way of life is over? They're playing on your fears, your primal instincts, to get you to comply. Chapter 4, Breaking the Machine, Coercive Persuasion and Thought Reform. We're going deep now, folks. This next chapter is about the really heavy stuff. Coercive persuasion and thought reform. We're talking about the kind of systematic manipulation that can break down your entire belief system and rebuild it from the ground up. This is the stuff of nightmares, man. This is brainwashing, plain and simple. It's used by cults, by oppressive regimes to control entire populations. Think about the Cultural Revolution in China or the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia. These regimes used coercive persuasion and thought reform to create a climate of fear and obedience. So how does it work? It's a gradual process, man. It starts with isolation, cutting you off from your support network, your family and friends. Then they bombard you with propaganda, with their ideology 24/7. They use sleep deprivation, malnutrition, even torture to break down your resistance. And slowly but surely they start to reshape your thoughts, your beliefs, your entire worldview. It's terrifying, but it's important to understand how these techniques work so we can protect ourselves and others from falling victim to them. Chapter 5, Hidden Messages, the Subliminal Threat. Let's talk about subliminal messaging, man. This is where things get really weird. We're talking about hidden messages embedded in music, in advertising, even in movies, designed to bypass your conscious mind and influence your subconscious. Think about it, man. You're watching a movie and you see a flash of a product placement, like a can of soda or something. You might not even consciously register it, but it's there, man. It's planting a seed in your subconscious. Now, there's a lot of debate about how effective subliminal messaging really is. Some people think it's all a bunch of BS, that it's just a placebo effect. But there have been some pretty compelling studies that suggest it can have a real impact on our behavior. For example, there was this one study where they flashed the words, "Eat popcorn and drink Coca-Cola" on a movie screen for a fraction of a second. And guess what? People who saw those subliminal messages bought way more popcorn and Coca-Cola than those who didn't. Coincidence? Maybe, but it makes you think, doesn't it? Chapter 6, The Media Matrix, Propaganda and Perception Control. We're living in the information age, folks. We're bombarded with messages from all sides, from the news, from social media, from advertising. And it can be tough to separate the signal from the noise, to know what to believe. Because here's the thing, the media, man, it's a powerful tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or for evil. In the wrong hands, it can be used to spread propaganda, to control the narrative, to shape public opinion. One of the most effective propaganda techniques is repetition. They say it over and over again until it becomes ingrained in your mind. Think about the way politicians use talking points, or the way advertisers use slogans. They repeat the same message ad nauseum until you start to believe it, even if it's not true. Then there's framing. This is all about controlling the context in which information is presented. The same event can be spun in completely different ways depending on who's doing the framing. Think about the way the media covers wars or political protests. The way they frame the event can have a huge impact on how we perceive it. Chapter 7, Emotional Hijacking, Playing on Your Insecurities. All right, folks, let's talk about emotional manipulation. This is where things get really personal, really messy, because emotional manipulators, they're masters at pushing your buttons. They know your weaknesses, your insecurities, your deepest fears, and they're not afraid to exploit them. One of their favorite tactics is playing the victim. They'll act helpless, powerless, like the whole world is against them. And because we're naturally empathetic creatures, we want to help, right? We want to fix things for them. And that's exactly what they want. They want you to feel sorry for them, to take care of them, to put their needs above your own. Another common tactic is shifting the focus. They'll do something wrong, something hurtful, and then turn it around on you. They'll accuse you of being too sensitive, of overreacting, of being the problem. It's classic gaslighting, designed to make you doubt your own perceptions, your own sanity. They might even try to isolate you from your support network, your friends and family. They'll tell you that your loved ones don't understand you, that they're trying to turn you against them, and the more isolated you are, the more dependent you become on them. It's a vicious cycle, man. How to stay awake, stay aware. That was a lot, folks. We went deep down the rabbit hole of mind control and manipulation. But listen, I didn't bring you here to freak you out. I brought you here to empower you, because knowledge is power. Understanding these techniques, seeing how they work, that's the first step in protecting yourself from being manipulated. Once you see the strings, man, you can't unsee them. You start to see these tactics everywhere, in advertising, in politics, in your personal relationships. So stay informed, stay vigilant, and always question the information you're being fed. Don't just accept things at face value, think critically. Do your own research, trust your gut, and remember, the most powerful weapon against manipulation is awareness. Thanks for listening, folks.